relatives, welcome to the shared experience. My name is Raven, and today I'd like to share some important messages surrounding the moon. So today I am being encouraged to share some of the wisdom, I guess, that I've gathered from following the moon and from my prayers and from my drumming and from my connection to the earth and the moon and the sun. Today is the moon's first day of her new cycle. So I choose to believe that the moon is a more feminine energy. Now, I understand that not everybody believes that, and not everybody follows that, and not everybody is awakened to that experience. And that's okay, because I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm just here to share what I believe and what I choose to believe is not influenced by popular belief. And when I say popular, I mean Western belief. So I believe that the moon is a feminine energy. I believe that the moon is a elder. I believe that the moon is a grandmother. And when I look to the moon, that's how I see her. I see her as a wise grandmother who I look to whenever I'm in need of support, nurturing, and guidance. I started to follow the moon very closely about 4 years ago. I think throughout my whole life, I've always, wondered about the moon or been in awe of the moon. But I never really started to follow her as closely until about 4 years ago. And initially, how I started following her was I began to notice that I looked for her everywhere I went. I would see her in the daytime, in the nighttime. She would be different sizes and different shapes. And I started to come into an understanding that the moon, has a direct relationship with the earth and the sun. And so everything that the moon affects is present on this earth. So the moon affects the waters. The moon affects the growing cycles. The moon affects the plants. The moon affects the animals. The moon affects humans, as we are primarily made of water. Plants are largely water. Animals follow the cycles of the moon. Some animals solely rely on the rise and fall of the tides. And so I just started to recognize how important the moon was. And the moon is the fastest moving luminary that we have. So she changes often, right? And her moods can change just as fast as she's moving. So I began to notice recently, like within the last maybe 6 months or 3 months, somewhere around there, 3 to 6 months, that when I was following astrology, and I would listen to different astrologers. I never really have like one that I follow because I don't think that I don't know, like I just like different perspectives, I guess. So astrology is largely based on Western beliefs, and Western beliefs are colonial, are European, and if you follow that astrology, obviously there are other forms of astrology too, but they're not as popular as the Western views. But what I started to notice was that all of the astrologers basically had the same thing to say, except, it might just be their personality that makes what they're saying a little bit different. But in general, most of the astrologers were saying the same things or had like the same key points. And I'm just like, there has to be more than this, like it has to be more than this glamorous or cookie cutter or like superficial view of how we should be connecting with the energies of the moon and the stars and the sun and astronomy and astrology, I guess. So I started to look up indigenous beliefs about astrology and astronomy, and I felt like those connections resonated with me so much more. And I started to find like true meaning, and my connections that I made with the moon were they just felt more genuine than what someone else could tell me, right? As with anything, right? Your own experience is where the value is, not what someone else can tell you or show you or teach you. And so I've just been feeling called to share how I connect with the moon. And it doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing, but I'm just sharing my experience, right? Sharing my perspective. So, one of the biggest things that I regret about my children, because I have adult children, so one of the biggest regrets that I have is not teaching them that our moon, our luminary, the moon, is a cycle for our planet Earth. She really sets the cycles for life on planet Earth. That's what I believe. That's what I've come to believe. That's what I've come to learn. That's what I've come to know. But there's also a correlation to our wombs and the moon, right? So Many of us know that menstrual cycles are 28 to 30 days. Our moon cycle is 28 to 29 days. And there are several small cycles within that one big cycle. And so, as womb keepers, as womb carriers, it is very important that we understand our connection to the moon from a young age. And because my views were colonized, because my views were westernized, I lost that internal connection to the moon. And so, in an attempt to live more authentically and truthfully and more aligned with who I am, I'm discovering that the moon also lives inside of us. And today, I'm mostly speaking about the new moon, right? Because today is the new moon. We're in January 2024. So we are beginning what I believe to be the first moon cycle of 2024. So I was still sort of living on the moon from 2023. Just completed that cycle, right? So that cycle is actually not even complete yet until 5:57 a.m. Central Time, and I believe it's 3:57 a.m. Pacific, and it's 6:57 a.m. Eastern. So we're still sort of completing that last moon cycle from 2023, which is sort of, I believe, why I don't feel like the year has really started or anything. But today, I'm feeling much more aligned with aligning to this new calendar year. So, when I say womb keeper, let me just define what womb keeper is. So, womb keeper is any person who decides that they're going to keep and hold space in their womb space for creation or for healing. So for me personally, it doesn't matter if it's man, woman, masculine, feminine, undecided, doesn't matter. If you're a human being who is going to consciously decide to keep space in your womb space for creation and healing and nurturing, then you're a womb keeper. Now, obviously, when you carry a physical womb, right, you carry a physical moon. So, the first day of your menstrual cycle, the first day that you bleed, is your new moon. Now, I regret not teaching my children sooner that our moons, our menstrual cycles, are meant to be something that is cherished, that is sacred, that is an important time for us to focus on ourselves, to recognize and understand that our cycles are powerful. They're a powerful time for self-journeying. Now, I feel like popular culture, popular Western culture uses the new moon to talk about manifesting and doing and all these things. But really the new moon, whether it's moon up in the sky or if it's moon inside of us, is more of an internal form of self love, self creation, and self reflection. And when we look in the sky, we don't necessarily see the moon during the new moon cycle or the beginning of the moon cycle, because the way the sun, the earth, and the moon are aligned, we can't necessarily see the moon's illumination because the sun is here, the moon is here, and the earth is here. So it's like a trifecta, right? It's the Trinity. It's the three. It's the creation time. But the moon is not facing us. It's not facing Earth. She is facing the sun. So she's still illuminated. There really is no dark moon unless the moon is in void. But she's still illuminated, but she is facing the sun instead of facing the earth. And it's my belief that she is facing the sun because she is re-energizing herself. She is nourishing herself. She is being attentive to herself and her needs. And she is releasing what's no longer serving her so that she can prepare to begin her next cycle. So, our wombs essentially can be viewed the same. So, during our new moon, we begin to shed our linings. We begin to shed all that nourishing, sacred water that was making room for potentially an egg to grow and create this miracle of human life, right? However, when the seed for human life is not present, our internal cycles, our internal moon recognize it. Our womb recognizes, okay, we don't need this anymore. We don't need to hold on to this lining anymore. We need to release it. So we bleed. And we bleed for 3 days, 6 days, 7 days. I mean, today I feel like all womb keepers are sort of off balance, off track with themselves because we have been westernized to believe that we need to not have periods and that we need to not have children and we need to not honor our sacred abilities. And so, along with that, being womb carriers, we are sacred water carriers. We are sacred water protectors. It's a natural given right to any womb carrier that you have those sacred waters inside of you. Doesn't matter if you have ever given birth, ever been pregnant, none of that stuff matters. You carry a womb. You carry those sacred waters. You are a sacred being. You are a life giver. And so I personally have been off of any hormones for the last 8 years since I had my last child. I just never felt good using birth control, or I always had problems, right? Like most of us do. So consciously, 8 years ago, I decided no more birth control, no more nothing. Um, I've been all over the place hormone wise. I've had lots of ups and downs. But my body is aligned with my own natural cycles. My body um, is regular. My cycles are regular. I don't have long gaps between periods. I don't have missed periods. I haven't had any of that for the last 2 years for sure. I had gone through some difficulty, and really, when you start to understand how your emotional body affects your moon and your moon cycles, you start to realize, that you're much more powerful when you're consciously aware of what's happening in your body. So, getting back to the moon and the new moon and where our power is, I just regretted not teaching my oldest daughters that your moon time is such a special time. And now, they're still in these Western beliefs of, having periods is bad. They don't want to listen to me right now. So it's okay. Like, all of us will awaken in our own time. But I really regret not teaching them that when they were younger, because they wouldn't be struggling with understanding why your periods and your menstrual cycles are sacred, special times. So in due time, they will come into their own beliefs. But I just felt like I needed to share a different perspective, because so much of what I hear about the moon and how to manifest with the moon and how to harness the moon is really, it doesn't resonate with me. So I thought I should share my perspective, so that other people who might be maybe awakening to the same thing or have never heard about how your period or menstrual cycle can be a great time for an internal journey, and how we can use our menstrual cycles to be in our full power and release what's no longer serving us consciously, whether it's from the last cycle or from any other cycle. It's just a powerful time to heal. So when I work with a new moon, I don't really do a lot of things. I do what I want to do. I do what I feel like is important. I do what is nurturing for me. So if I want to paint, I paint. If I want to write, I write. If I don't want to cook, I don't cook. If I don't want to clean, I don't clean. If I want to take a bath, I take a bath. If I don't want to drive somebody somewhere, I don't do it. Like, it's just, we have to stop forcing ourselves to do things that are not aligned with us or that disturb our peace. As feminines, we feel like we have obligations to other people so often that we just neglect and abuse ourselves. And it's time for us to stop doing that. It's time for us to start honoring ourselves and start honoring our natural cycles, whether it's the earth cycle or it's our own personal internal moon cycle. So the new moon is a time for dreaming for me. It's a time for dreaming. It's a time for envisioning. It's a time for like making a vision board or um, doing dream work, doing healing work, um, leaving offerings, expressing gratitude. And yes, I have also left moon offerings during the new moon because it's an ideal time to leave moon offerings because the moon is essentially trying to um, recalibrate, realign, re-nourish herself, right? So it's the perfect time to give gratitude and appreciation to her, uplift her, so that she can go back out into the world and let her light shine again. I have left my moon offering, my blood, uh, for the earth. Um, and I know, like, at first, like, some people are like, what? What? Like, why would you ever take your blood, your menstrual cycle blood, and put it out into the earth? Well, that is a sacred offering. That is a sacred offering. Your moon, your blood, your womb waters are sacred. So there is no better offering, right? Like so many people think about offerings like, oh, I need to go out and buy this and buy that. It has to be fancy. It has to be. I don't think there's anything more beautiful and more sacred than your own moon blood. And so I've done this a couple of ways. I've used like a small bowl or cup and just collected some when I went to the bathroom, or you can do it after a shower. Um, and I've also done it another way where I had like a gown on and I just really centered myself. I connected. I made sure that the creator and that the earth and the moon and the sun knew my intentions for this offering. And I went outside, I found a spot in my backyard, and I just kind of squatted down as close as possible to the earth, and I just allowed, right? And then I did also pour a little water over it and just like a light dusting of the soil just to like prevent, anything else from coming over and checking it out. But I have done that. And I think it really connects you to the earth much better. It connects you to the land that you live on. It connects you to nature and nature spirits. So, if that's something that you think you might want to try, or if you've been looking for ways to connect with nature, that is an excellent way to align yourself with the earth, with the moon, and with the natural cycles. Other things that are good is to really just like make a wish. Like I like to think, I don't know why I think of birthday candles all the time, but when you blow out your birthday candles, you're making a wish for the next year, basically. So I use the new moon as an opportunity to make a wish for that moon cycle. I'm not like writing the wish down. I'm not like setting intentions. I'm not doing any of that because I don't think it's time. In a couple days, it will be time to make that list, to start making plans, to gradually start preparing yourself to be more active. But during the new moon, during your new moon, it's really not a time for like doing. It is a time for internal reflection, nourishment, doing what makes you happy, doing what makes you feel good, resting, eating, drinking, like healthy things, not, anything that's negatively impacting you. But it's a time for good things. It's a time for privacy. Um, some people won't even sleep in the same bed with their husband or their wife when she's on their moon. So, um, I mean, it's just a powerful time. And I think more people, more men and women, masculine and feminine, binary, non binary, need to really understand the power in your moon and your moon cycles. So, I have so much more that I wanted to say, but I think I'm kind of getting to the point where you guys probably get the picture. So perhaps I can make a less chatty video about how I work with the moon and the moon cycles. But for now, I've just been feeling so called to share a little bit of a different perspective on the moon and our internal moons and how womb keepers and womb carriers can really harness the power and try not to um, overcomplicate how to work with the moon or oversimplify our moon cycles or live in a state of like dread and regret or like um, sorrow when we're on our moons or when we're bleeding or when we're on our menstrual cycle, whatever you'd like to call it. So I hope that you found something helpful in this video, and please stay tuned for more musings and more sharings. And I appreciate you all. So I hope that you all find a little bit of peace during this new moon cycle. And I hope that you can find a little time to love and appreciate the moon in a special way. That's all for now. Again, this is my truth, and it's really up to you to find your own truth in it. So please feel free to let me know how you're feeling about what I've just shared. Thank you. Happy new moon.